Question for you. Sometimes the needs of different animals conflict. For instance, conserving farmland for human food might destroy the habitat of a vulnerable animal, or protecting a predator like wolves could threaten livestock. In these situations, whose needs should come first? And what happens if humans are involved? Hey philosophers, I'm Jonas, and this is Philosophy Friday, the channel where we tackle life's biggest questions, one Friday at a time. Each week, we explore a thought-provoking question and feature your comments in the discussion. Be sure to stick around until the end to find out next week's question, so you can weigh in for a chance to be featured in next week's video. Today's question: when the needs of different species conflict, whose needs should be prioritized? How does the equation change if humans are involved? Conflicts between species are all around us. Take the example of the reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone National Park. It helped restore balance to the ecosystem, but some nearby ranchers felt that the cost was too high because of the loss of their cattle. Or consider urban expansion. We pave over natural habitats to make way for cities, but at what point does prioritizing human needs jeopardize the ecosystems that we depend on? One way to approach this is by weighing the harm versus benefit. For example, some argue that endangered species should take priority because their survival affects biodiversity, which benefits us all. But others might argue that human needs, like food, housing, or economic stability, should outweigh the needs of non-human species. Philosophers like Peter Singer would push us to take a utilitarian perspective. What action takes us to the greatest overall good? From this viewpoint, saving an ecosystem that supports thousands of species might take precedence over short-term human conveniences. And others, like the environmental ethicist Aldo Leopold, focus on the idea of a land ethic, suggesting that the health of the entire system should guide our decisions. Here is an excerpt from Leopold's book, describing his concept of a land ethic. The land ethic simply enlarges the boundaries of the community to include soils, waters, plants, and animals, or collectively, the land. This sounds simple. Do we not already sing our love for and obligation to the land of the free and the home of the brave? Yes, but just what and whom do we love? Certainly not the soil, which we are sending helter-skelter downriver. Certainly not the waters, which we assume have no function except to turn turbines, float barges, and carry off sewage. Certainly not the plants, for which we exterminate whole communities without batting an eye. Certainly not the animals, of which we have already extirpated many of the largest and most beautiful species. A land ethic, of course, cannot prevent the alteration, management, and use of these resources, but it does affirm their right to continued existence, and, at least in spots, their continued existence in a natural state. In short, a land ethic changes the role of Homo sapiens from conqueror of the land community to plain member and citizen of it. It implies respect for his fellow members and also respect for the community as such. And then there's the question of power. Humans unquestionably dominate the planet, but does that mean we have the right to prioritize ourselves over other species? Or does our position of power mean we have a greater responsibility to protect the vulnerable? Maybe there's no one-size-fits-all answer. The conflicts are messy, and every situation has its own ethical complexities. Of course, regardless of how clever an animal is, I think we can all agree she would hit the like button, and an even cleverer animal would also make sure that they are subscribed. Let's turn to our community for answers. Pizza Deli writes, will animals prioritize us before their species? Don't think so. Giorgio Leo writes, humans are not endangered. Whichever animal is endangered should be prioritized. Cindy R. says, I think we've seen enough examples of how much damage humans can do to animal species, and how the extinction of a species makes a difference in the well-being of the earth. I'm thinking specifically about how the reintroduction of wolves benefited Yellowstone, and about a recent video that I saw that explained how the ocean is healthier when there are more whales. If we prioritize the well-being of the planet, we will need to prioritize animals. Kitty B says, non-human animals. Always prioritize the non-human animals. Thank you so much for your comments. Personally, I find this question both fascinating and troubling. On one hand, it's hard to argue against prioritizing human survival when lives are on the line. But on the other hand, ignoring the needs of other species is a short-term solution that often leads to bigger problems down the road. It's a balancing act, and one that requires us to think beyond ourselves. But in general, I think we have to look out for the little guys in this case. That's usually the non-humans. And I feel that not doing so could ultimately be harmful to us, the humans. Thanks for watching, and keep questioning. So what do you think? When different species have conflicting needs, whose needs should take priority? And how does that answer change when humans are involved? Comment below with your thoughts, and if you like this video, then join our conversation for next week about what we would take with us if we were locked in a room for the rest of our lives. It's people like you who make these videos possible, and the best way to keep this community going is by joining the discussion in the comments, and you might be featured on next week's video.